A wealthy single father encounters a homeless woman rummaging through the trash on Christmas Eve. What she said changed his life forever. "Mom, why are you looking for food in the trash?" Emily's voice sliced through the night air like a blade. David felt his stomach sink. He tried to pull his daughter by the arm, but it was too late. The woman stopped. Her hands still held a torn bag, her fingers dirty with something he preferred not to identify. She turned slowly, and David expected to see anger, shame, perhaps despair. He saw none of that. Her eyes were green and absolutely calm, because sometimes we need to lose everything to discover what truly matters. David couldn't breathe for a full 3 seconds. Emily tilted her head. And what does it matter? The woman looked at the book she held against her chest, an old book with a worn cover. She clutched it as if it were the most valuable thing in the world. "This," she smiled, a smile that didn't match her torn clothes, her unkempt hair, or her circumstances. "The stories we carry. Emily, come." David finally found his voice. "We need to go." "But, Dad," he pulled out his wallet, extending 3 $100 bills toward the woman. It was the least he could do. It was what people like him did, throwing money at problems and moving on. The woman looked at the bills, then looked at him. "No, thank you." David blinked. "What?" "I said no." She turned back to the container, "But I appreciate it." He stood there like an idiot with $300 swaying in his hand. When was the last time someone had refused his money? When was the last time someone had said no to David Smith? "Are you going to spend the night on the street?" The question slipped out before he could stop it. "There's a shelter down the block." She didn't stop searching. "They save a spot for me. And food. Do you have food?" This time she stopped and looked over her shoulder. "Are you always like this?" "Like what?" "Persistent." Emily giggled. David shot a glance at his daughter, but the girl was too busy watching the woman with fascination. "I have food in the car." He didn't know why he was doing this. He didn't know why he couldn't just walk away. "My mom made too much for dinner. I can bring some." The woman finally stepped away from the container. She wiped her hands on her coat, a grey coat that had seen better days, and looked at him for real for the first time. "Why do you want to help me?" The question was simple. The answer wasn't, "Because my daughter is watching." "Because it's Christmas." "Because I have more money than I know what to do with." "Because you said something my wife used to say." "Because yes." She studied his face for a long moment. David felt exposed in a way he hadn't felt in years, as if she could see beyond the expensive suit, the flashy watch, the imported car parked 2 blocks away. "Okay," she finally relented, "but it's not for me. It's for the others who sleep with me under the overpass." "How many?" 6, sometimes 7. David nodded. "Wait here." He walked to the car with Emily skipping beside him. The girl kept looking back. "Dad?" "She's pretty, Emily." "It's true. Under the dirt, she's pretty. And she talks differently. She talks like the lady at the museum." David didn't respond. He knew his daughter was. Right. There was something about that woman that didn't fit. The posture, the vocabulary, the way she held that book. He opened the trunk and grabbed the bags his mother had prepared. Turkey, rice, stuffing, fruitcake. Wine he wasn't going to drink anyway. When he returned, the woman was squatting on the sidewalk, showing the book to Emily. "It's about a man who doesn't know if his wife truly loved him." She turned the pages carefully. "But really, it's about how we never know what's going on in someone else's head." Sounds sad. Yeah, but it's beautiful too. David stopped 2 steps away. "The posthumous memoirs of Bras Cubas." The woman looked up. "You know it?" "My wife loved it." The words slipped out before he could stop them. She used to say Capitu was the most misunderstood character in Brazilian literature. Something changed in the woman's face, a shadow, a recognition. She was right. She passed away. David didn't know why he was sharing this after 3 years. "I'm sorry." And for the first time in 3 years, when someone said those words, David believed it. He extended the bags to her. "For you and the others." The woman stood up, took the food with both hands, balancing the book on her forearm. "What's your name?" He needed to know. "Isabella." She hesitated. "Just Isabella." "I'm David, and this is Emily." "I know." Isabella smiled at the girl. "She introduced herself while you were getting the food." Emily puffed out her chest. "I told her we were going to Grandma's house and that Dad works too much and that I want a puppy, but he won't let me." "Emily," Isabella laughed, a clean, unexpected sound. "She's honest. It's a rare quality." David's phone rang. He looked at the screen. Work. Always work. "I have to go." He didn't want to. "Will you be okay?" "I always am." There was an entire story in that phrase, a story he had no right to know, a story that for some reason he desperately wanted to hear. "Merry Christmas, Isabella." "Merry Christmas, David." He took Emily's hand and started walking. With each step, he felt the weight of that green gaze on his back. "Dad." Emily tugged at his hand. "What? Can we go back to see her?" David didn't answer. 3 hours later, at the Christmas dinner of his mother, he couldn't pay attention to anything. The cousins were chatting, the children were running around, his mother was asking if he was okay. He wasn't. Sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what really matters. Isabella used to say something similar in the last months when she already knew she was going to die. "You work so much, David, so much. When was the last time you really lived?" He laid Emily down in his old room. The girl held his hand before sleeping. "Dad, the girl from the book, she was sad inside. Why do you think that?" "Because she smiled with her mouth, but not with her eyes." Emily yawned, just like you. David stood still in the dark long after his daughter fell asleep. And that night, for the first time in 3 years, he dreamed of something other than work. He dreamed of green eyes and an old book and the question that wouldn't let him be. Who was Isabella? The security guard at the shelter scratched his head when David showed him the photo on his phone. The blonde from the books. He smiled. Everyone knows her. She reads stories to the kids every night, but during the day she's at the library downtown, the Mario de Andrade library. David murmured a thank you and went back to the car. The driver was waiting with the air conditioning on. "Where to, sir?" "Mario de Andrade library." A week had passed since Christmas, a week in which David couldn't concentrate in meetings, didn't respond to emails properly, and couldn't sleep without dreaming of green eyes. "You seem different," his mother had noticed at Sunday lunch. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Maybe he had. The library was an imposing building in downtown New York. David crossed the glass doors, feeling completely out of place. When was the last time he had entered a library? He found Isabella in the restoration section. She was wearing white gloves and working on an old book with surgical care. "Did you follow me?" It wasn't a question. "I needed to know if you were okay." Isabella finally raised her eyes. "Why?" "I don't know." A lie. She took off her gloves. "Do you want something?" "Men like you always want something. Men like me, rich, powerful, used to getting everything." David should have been offended. Instead, he sat in the chair next to her. "My company has a daycare. The librarian quit. I need someone to take care of the books and read to the children of the employees." Isabella laughed. "Are you offering me a job? A formal contract, salary, benefits?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I can be anything." She stood up. "A criminal, An addict, a crazy person. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. You do? Isabella crossed her arms. What do you know? I know you read to street kids every night without getting paid. I know you refused my money. I know you treat that old book like it's a treasure. It belonged to my mother. The phrase hung between them. I'm sorry. David softened his voice. I didn't mean to. She died. Isabella was looking out the window. My father did too. I lost everything, and now I'm here restoring books for free because it's the only thing that makes me feel useful. So you accept the job, right? Charity is work. If it doesn't work out, you leave without drama. Isabella studied him for a long moment. David held her gaze. Okay. She finally relented. But I want a contract. Everything formal, no special favors. Deal. When he extended his hand, she shook it, and David felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years, something that had died with Helena. Hope. 2 weeks later, Isabella started at the daycare. On the first day, she was nervous. The clothes were borrowed from the shelter. Her hair still needed care. But when she entered the children's library and saw the kids, something in her changed. Who wants to hear a story? 15 little hands shot up. David watched from the door when Emily tugged at the sleeve of his jacket. Dad, can I stay here after school? Isa promised to read to me. Isa. His daughter had already given her a nickname. Sure. Emily ran to join the other children. Isabella looked up and met David's gaze. A small smile, a nod, and in the hallway, without either of them seeing, Mrs. Johnson watched everything with narrowed eyes. That woman had something, and Mrs. Johnson was going to find out what. Mrs. Johnson showed up at the daycare unannounced. I came to meet the girl who transformed my granddaughter. David almost choked on his coffee. Mum, you could have called. Why? So you could make up an excuse? She adjusted her bag on her shoulder. Take me to her. Isabella was organizing books when they entered. She turned, and David saw the exact moment she realized who the woman beside him was. You must be Mrs. Johnson. Isabella extended her hand. Emily talks a lot about her grandmother, and you must be the girl my son can't stop mentioning. Mum? Mrs. Johnson ignored her son. She walked through the library, running her fingers along the shelves, observing the children's drawings on the wall. Do you like to read? It's the only thing that kept me alive for the last 2 years. The brutal honesty took everyone by surprise. Even Isabella seemed shocked by what she had said. Mrs. Johnson felt her out slowly. Emily told me you have a special book. The posthumous memoirs of Brass Cubas belonged to my mother. Did it? She passed away. My father did too. The silence lasted a full 5 seconds. Then Mrs. Johnson did something David didn't expect. She hugged Isabella. I'm so sorry, my dear. When they left, his mother held David's arm in the parking lot. Does she have something, son? I don't know what it is, but she does. 2 weeks later, David found Isabella crying in the empty library. It was late, the children had already gone, and the staff too. Only she remained sitting on the floor among the... Isabella was standing by the shelves, holding her mother's book. She quickly wiped her face. Sorry, I was just about to leave. What happened? Nothing. Liar. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Are you always this straightforward? When I need to be. He sat beside her. What happened? Today marks 2 years. 2 years of what? Isabella fell silent for so long that David thought she wouldn't answer. Since I got out of prison. The world stopped. Prison. Are you going to fire me now, or do you want me to finish telling my story? David didn't move. Tell me. And she did. She talked about her career as a literature teacher in Chicago, about the charming fiancé who appeared in her life like a dream, about the contracts he asked her to sign, about the federal police at her apartment door. He used my name to launder money. Her voice was flat, dead. When they found out he fled the country, I stayed. You were imprisoned for a year, awaiting trial. She tightened her grip on the book. My father had a heart attack when he found out. He died 3 weeks later. My mother, she couldn't handle it. She lasted 4 more months. Isabella, I was exonerated. Lack of evidence of direct involvement. She finally looked at him, but by then she had nothing left. No family, no job, no references. Shame kept me from reaching out to anyone from my past. Why didn't you what? Give private lessons? She laughed bitterly. I tried, but when you don't have a permanent address, when your clothes are falling apart, no one wants you near their children. David held her hand. She trembled but didn't pull away. You're not an ex-convict. You just heard me. You're a survivor. He squeezed her fingers. And as long as I can do something, you have a place here. Isabella cried. And in the parking lot across the window, Rachel was photographing the two of them holding hands. Their first kiss happened on the balcony of Mrs. Johnson's mansion. It was Easter Sunday. The lunch had been tense at first, David's uncles evaluating, Isabella with curious looks, cousins whispering, but she won them all over with her kindness, her knowledge, the way she treated Emily. You're different. David leaned against the railing beside her. From the other women I've met, I'm homeless. That's definitely different. You know what I meant. Isabella looked at the garden. Emily was running after her cousins, hunting for chocolate eggs. Your daughter is amazing. She adores you. I adore her too. David touched her chin, turning Isabella's face towards his. And me, what about me? Do you adore me too? Isabella laughed. You're very full of yourself, perhaps. He kissed her slowly, gently, and when he pulled away, he saw Emily peeking through the glass door with a huge smile. Dad, finally. Everything seemed perfect. A week later, the world collapsed. Did you see this? David's secretary walked into his office without knocking. Her face was pale. It's everywhere. She placed the tablet on the table. The headline screamed, Scandal. Tech millionaire hires ex-convict to care for children. See photos. David's stomach dropped. The article had everything. Isabella's criminal record, photos of her at the daycare, a sensationalist narrative painting her as a threat. How did they get this? I don't know, sir, but the board is already calling an emergency meeting. David picked up the phone and called Isabella. Voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. In the meeting room, the directors waited with grave expressions. This is a public relations disaster. Rachel was the first to speak. Her voice dripped with false concern. Parents of children at the daycare are already protesting. The press is surrounding the building. Who leaked this information? That doesn't matter right now. She crossed her arms. What matters is damage control. We need to let this employee go immediately. She was exonerated. The public doesn't care about that, David. Rachel leaned forward. They want blood. I'm not firing an innocent person. Then you're going to sink the company along with her. The door opened. Isabella stood there, her eyes red, her hands trembling. You don't need to fire me. Her voice was a thread. I'm resigning. Isabella, wait. No. She raised her hand. I'm not going to destroy your life, David, your company, your family. You're not destroying anything. I am. A tear rolled down her cheek. I've already destroyed my own life. I won't destroy yours too. She left before he could. Stop her. David ran after her. He caught up with Isabella in the elevator. Stay, please. I can't. Isabella, let me go. She held his face in her hands. Please, let me go. The elevator doors closed. David returned to the meeting room, looked at each director and then at Rachel, who could barely hide her satisfaction. Find out who leaked this. His voice was ice. And when you find out, let me know. That night, Isabella didn't return to the shelter, didn't answer her phone, didn't show up anywhere. She had disappeared. And Emily, sitting on her father's lap, asked the question he didn't know how to answer. "Dad, what did you do wrong? Why did Isabella leave? Are you going to let this woman leave without fighting for her?" Mrs. Johnson was standing at David's office door. He hadn't slept in 3 days, hadn't eaten properly, couldn't think of anything but Isabella. "I tried, Mom. She doesn't want to be found." "Tried?" She crossed her arms. "You have an entire company, resources, contacts, and you tell me you tried. What do you want me to do?" "Fight." Mrs. Johnson sat in the chair across from him. "When Helen died, you shut down, buried your heart with her. Are you going to do that again?" David didn't respond. "That woman brought you back, son. She brought Emily back. Are you going to give up because of a newspaper headline?" The phone rang. He was the IT director. "Dr. David, we found the source of the leak." "Who?" Isabella's documents were accessed using Dr. Rachel's login 3 days before the article was published. David felt his blood boil. "There's more." The director hesitated. "We found emails from her with a private investigator. He has contacts in the police. That's how they got the criminal record. Send me everything now." An hour later, David called a press conference. The auditorium of Montero Tech was packed. Cameras, journalists, microphones. The board expected an apology, a dismissal, blood. David took the stage. "You want a story?" He looked into the cameras. "I will tell a story." And he did. He told about a talented teacher from Chicago, about a con artist who destroyed her life, about an unjust imprisonment, about parents who died of heartbreak, about a woman who lost everything and still found the strength to read stories to street children. This woman was exonerated by justice. His voice was firm. "But you condemned her without a trial, and the person who leaked this information," he pointed to Rachel in the front row, "is being suspended and investigated for illegal access to confidential documents and hiring illegal services to obtain privileged information." The auditorium erupted in murmurs. Rachel turned pale. "Isabella Ventura is not a criminal." David looked directly into the cameras. "She is a survivor, and I am proud to have her in my company and in my life." Security escorted Rachel out. The journalists fired questions, but David had already left the stage. He needed to find Isabella. 3 days of searching, shelters, libraries, churches, nothing. On the 4th night, Emily tugged at his pajama sleeve. "Dad, I know where Isa is." "How?" she told me once. The girl rubbed her sleepy eyes. "That when she gets sad, she goes back to the place where she met us, Central Park." David drove like a madman through downtown New York, and there she was, in the same spot, near the same dumpsters, looking for discarded books, not out of necessity, but out of habit, for comfort. "Isabella!" She turned, her eyes wide. "What are you doing here?" "Looking for you." He approached her 4 days later. "I saw the press conference." Her voice was a whisper. "Why did you do that?" "Because it was the truth. You destroyed your reputation for me." "No." David held her face. "I built something for the first time in 3 years. David, I don't want to save you, Isabella." He pressed his forehead against hers. "I want you to save me." "You already have," she cried. And when he kissed her in the middle of the park under the city lights, David knew he had found what he had been searching for since Helen died, a reason to live again. The smell of roasted turkey filled the apartment. Mrs. Johnson commanded the kitchen like a general, giving orders to the cousins who had come to help. Emily, now 8 years old, ran around the living room, showing her new dress to anyone who would look. "Isa, look, red just like yours." Isabella adjusted the bow in the girl's hair. "You look beautiful, princess. We match, right?" "We do." A year had passed since that night in Central Park, a year that felt like a lifetime. David watched the two from the kitchen door. His mother appeared beside him, drying her hands on her apron. "Stop looking at her like a fool." "I'm not looking like a fool." "You are." Mrs. Johnson smiled. "But I like it." It had been a long time since he had seen that look. Isabella was no longer the woman from the trash. She was the coordinator of the children's library at the daycare and the creator of the Books in the Park project, which brought reading to children in street situations in New York. The project had won awards. Other companies joined in. Her story became a documentary, and the portal that had published the sensationalist article was forced to pay damages and publish a retraction. Rachel had been fired for cause after the internal investigation. The latest rumor said she had moved to Portugal. David didn't care. Dad. Emily tugged at his hand. It's time. It was the new family tradition. Before dinner, the three would go to Central Park, bringing new books to donate to Isabella's project and passing by the exact spot where everything had started. Downtown New York was bustling. Christmas lights decorated the old buildings. Street vendors offered fruitcakes and sparkling wine. Isabella stopped in front of the green dumpsters. There was no more trash there. The city had renovated the park after the project gained visibility. "What are you thinking?" David intertwined his fingers with hers. "That a year ago I was rummaging through this trash." She squeezed his hand. "And today I'm here with you, with her." Emily hugged Isabella's legs. "Isa, tell again how you met. You already know this story by heart, but I like to hear it." David laughed. She pulled her mother. "Helen also made me tell the same stories 1,000 times." It was the first time he mentioned Helen without pain in his voice. Isabella noticed, squeezing his hand tighter. In the daycare library, the copy of the posthumous memoirs of Bras Cubas now sat in a glass case. The plaque read, "Donated by Isabella Ventura to remind us that every book carries a story greater than its pages." "Dad, can we eat now?" Emily was pulling them back to the car. Grandma said she made pudding. "Come on, come on." The three walked hand in hand through the illuminated streets. Isabella suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" She looked at David, at Emily, at the city lights. Nothing. Her eyes sparkled. "I'm just happy." "Isa, are you crying?" Emily pointed. "It's because adults cry when they're very happy too." "That's strange." "It is." David kissed Isabella's forehead. "Let's go home." Home. The words had a different weight. Now Isabella had an address, a family, a purpose, and as they walked through downtown New York, she remembered what she had said that first night. Sometimes we need to lose everything to discover what truly matters. She was right, and she had finally found it. Have you ever stopped to think about how many incredible people pass through our lives without us noticing? The story of David and Isabella proves that a single encounter can change everything, but only if we have the courage to see beyond appearances. If this story touched your heart, give it a strong like, share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances, and comment below what you thought of the ending. Should Isabella have accepted David's help from the beginning, or was she right to maintain her pride? If you made it this far, it's because this story captivated you, and that means you're on our team. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any love stories that will stir your emotions. And let us know which state you are watching from, or perhaps from another country. Comment below your city. We want to know where this beautiful family that follows our stories comes from. M.